Hi, today I wanted to go over what's the difference between consecutive and concurrent license suspensions in New York DWI cases. How much come on over? My name is Larry Newman. I'm an attorney located in Ithaca, New York. My practice concentrates on DWI defense and other traffic-related matters. Today I wanted to go over the differences between concurrent suspensions and consecutive suspensions. You know, very easy to understand, but sometimes it gets more complicated when someone is from another state and comes to New York State and has administrative penalties on top of the criminal penalties. Now remember, there could be potentially two types of license suspensions. And when I say license suspensions, I also mean privilege suspensions. Because someone says, well, I don't have a New York license, so they can't touch my New York license or my license privileges. But if New York will take away your privileges, eventually that is going to go to a national database called the NDR, the National Driver Registry, which is a repository. It's a directory of everybody that has action pending in any state. And in your own home state, wherever has issued you a license, you're going to eventually have to deal with New York. So that said, consecutive versus concurrent. Consecutive means with succession or within a sequence. So if somebody had two 30-day suspensions and they were consecutive suspensions, they'd be 30 plus 30, it'd be one after the other. They'd have a total suspension of 60 days. If somebody had those two suspensions run concurrently, concurrent or with the flow of the currency, as they say, then 30 to 30 would still just be a total of 30 because they would run together. They run together when it's concurrent. So in the case of a DWI, we're going to have potentially two different suspension time periods. We're going to have the suspension time period potentially from the criminal court, and then potentially we have another suspension time period, or also called a revocation. And I won't get into the differences between that there. Just understand that you won't have privileges to drive whether you have a suspension or a revocation. But the DMV can also issue suspensions, revocations of a license or license privileges. So when we have a refusal case, those two time periods, the time period of the criminal court and the time period of the administrative court, may not run at the same time. They may run partially concurrent, or they may be almost consecutive. So in those types of situations, we want to do an analysis early on in the game and see whether it's better to get rid of one of the suspensions or start to have it run while the criminal case is running, so that it runs out, or runs so that we don't have a year on top of 6 months or a year on top of 3 months, and we wind up with then a 15-month or a 1.5 year suspension of driving privileges. These are things that we have to take into consideration when we have concurrent versus consecutive DWI suspensions / revocations. If you have questions about your DWI case, remember it's situation specific. You need to have your specific situation looked at and analyzed by somebody that understands DMV and understands DWIs in New York State. You could either give me a call or you can send me an email. Be more than happy to discuss it with you. And thanks for watching this video.
Right is 40. See the difference?
Yeah, in the size. Yeah.
Now it's right to 40. 40 miles an hour.